The rapid growth of certain countries makes us wonder if they hit a jackpot. Well, Guyana definitely did. Let us have a look at how Guyana's oil industry has a wealth influence on the economy. What is the role of Guyana in the global economy? How has the discovery of the oil industry affected the country? Guyana is a country located in South America. The people who inhabited Guyana before the European settlement named it Guyana, which meant the land of water. This land is now known for its abundance of oil. Guyana is sitting on a jackpot of liquid gold. This second wealthiest in South America is also the seventh largest crude oil producer in Latin America. The country gained independence in 1966, and since then the earnings of people have come from natural resources. The country's chief economic assets have been its pristine rainforests, sugarcane plantations, rice fields, and bauxite and gold reserves. This poor country, abundant in resources, did not realize the richness of its land until 2015. The news of the oil giant ExxonMobil discovering 11 billion barrels of oil off the coast of the small Latin American country in 2015 was widespread. ExxonMobil started exploration activities in Guyana in 2008. It resulted in a series of significant discoveries in the Stabroek Block. These included the Liza discovery in 2015, the first substantial offshore oil find in Guyana. These discoveries have contributed to a gross recoverable resource estimate of nearly 11 billion oil equivalent barrels in the Stabroek Block. The country, which fell in as an average in economic performance list, rapidly leaped to the top with subsequent discoveries like Payara, Snoek, and Turbot revealed extensive oil-bearing reservoirs. In 2020 and 2021, additional discoveries, including Uaru 2, Longtail 3, Whiptail 1 and -2, Pinktail, Turbot 2, Cataback, Lau Lau, Fangtooth, Barrelai, Patwa, Lukanani, Seabob, Kiru, Sailfin, and Yarrow, were contributed to the vast resource potential of the Stabroek Block. The Liza Phase 1 development is situated 190 kilometers offshore in water depths of 1,900 meters. It involved the deployment of a floating production, storage, and offloading FPSO vessel. This facility currently produces over 120,000 barrels of oil per day, utilizing a total of 17 wells, including oil-producing, water injection, and gas reinjection wells. A single discovery was changed into many and completely transformed the shape of this country. And now what if I tell you that oil was discovered in Guyana in the late 1700s? Yes, you heard me right. The Dutch explorers had observed petroliferous occurrences in the land since the 1750s. But it was not until 1916 that the first significant effort to locate petroleum was undertaken. Geologists report that in 1926, a well was drilled on the west coast of Berbice at the Bath Sugar Estate. The gas recovered there was utilized for decades at that location for domestic purposes. In the late 1950s, McBride Oil and Gas Corporation tried Guyana, but there was no success. The Guyana-Suriname Basin remains one of the last unexplored areas in the world with significant petroleum potential. The United States Geological Survey estimates that 13.6 billion barrels of oil and 32 trillion cubic feet of natural gas could lie in the basin. It was not until 2015 that the U.S. oil major ExxonMobil found more than 11 billion barrels of oil equivalent resources offshore Guyana, spanning over 35 discoveries since 2015 at the Stabroek Block. The finance minister of Guyana called 2022 a major year for exploration, with 11 oil exploration wells drilled and 10 new commercial discoveries. He added, the country's oil production could reach some 810,000 barrels per day by 2025 with the startups of the third production vessel. The nation's oil and gas sector is estimated to have expanded by 125% last year, with a total of 101.4 million barrels of oil produced, compared with 42.7 million in 2021. The county's Natural Resource Fund held $1.27 billion at the end of 2022 after withdrawing about $608 million to finance state development priorities, says Ashni Singh, the finance minister of Guyana. 2 months ago, Guyana gained a larger share of Europe's oil market this year, driven by rising output by a consortium led by ExxonMobil. It is quite evident that the answer to the question, will oil make Guyana rich, is that it already has transformed the Guyanese economy. According to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, it grew by 62% last year and is expected to add another 37% this year. Guyana has the fastest growth rate anywhere in the world. The wealth will potentially be shared between a relatively small number of people, for the population of Guyana, as per the 2021 records, is 8 lakhs. oil already generates $1 billion in revenues annually for the government. And the estimated revenue for 2040 is $7.5 billion. Guyana, the impoverished rainforest-covered country of just 800,000 people, will become the fourth largest offshore oil producer in the world by 2040. Although critics contend that Guyana lacks the legal framework and expertise to regulate the oil bonanza, the country is confident in its abilities to establish itself. Many similar developing countries, such as neighboring Venezuela, have also struck vast oil deposits only to be left poorer and more politically unstable than before. This points to the efficiency of the country's democracy. With a semi-presidential system, the country is led by a republic government. It has a 65-member unicameral National Assembly. The presidential candidate of the party or coalition receiving the most votes becomes president, and the president appoints the prime minister and cabinet. The president is both head of state and head of government. This well-established system provides security to the country's wealth and population. Rapidly growing resource revenues has potential negative consequences which can weaken a country's economy. Wondering how? Let me explain. This phenomenon occurs as resource revenues increase a country's currency value, making non-oil exports less competitive. The focus on a single resource sector can lead to labor concentration, leaving the economy vulnerable when resources deplete. Venezuela's oil dependence and economic downfall is an example. Guyana faces similar challenges due to its heavy reliance on oil. There are concerns about the deal that the country struck with Exxon. Exxon is the company which discovered oil in the country in 2015. The country heavily favors the oil giant, guaranteeing a 50-50 split of oil revenues, lower than the average 75% that most governments receive. Exxon claims it took the risk of working in a country with little energy infrastructure, but predictably, the company wouldn't take that risk without considering the potential of its land. The situation looks like Exxon is corrupting the country, for the deal was signed after Exxon had confirmed the existence of the oil. The country should take the initiative to not get exploited by the company. As per the 2022 records, Guyana was one of the newest crude oil-producing regions in the world, yielding an output of 276,000 barrels per day, progressing from an average of 74,000 daily barrels in 2021. The most existential threat to this country is climate change. Guyana, with 90% of its population living in low-lying coastal regions, faces severe threats from rising sea levels and increasing coastal flooding. The capital, Georgetown, lies below sea level, and predictions suggest it could be submerged by 2030 due to climate change. Guyana is promoting offshore oil drilling, a practice that accelerates climate change and poses immediate risks like oil spills. The country's biodiversity, heavily reliant on fishing, could suffer irreparable damage if the oil spills. Guyana has a history of climate action, serving as a carbon sink for Norway, but economic factors and insufficient global compensation have led the government to view oil as a source of funding for climate resilience measures, such as seawall construction and flood relief, while maintaining a carbon-negative status. This inconsistent approach raises concerns about the country's future. Upon the country's future, with all these prevailing concerns, Guyana can still win if the country ensures sustainability throughout its development. This is the simple financial technique all of us use in our household, reinvesting the money we earn into fields in which we expect more returns. Guyana can achieve sustainable prosperity by investing in infrastructure, including healthcare, education, roads, and climate protections, ensuring direct improvement in citizens' quality of life. The country has already initiated projects such as hospitals, schools, highways, ports, and energy plants, all funded by oil revenue. Another crucial strategy involves diversifying investments through a transparent sovereign wealth fund, similar to Norway's successful model. Such a fund provides public accountability, guards against corruption, and ensures long-term financial stability, even if oil reserves deplete or prices drop. Guyana has established a sovereign wealth fund and joint transparency initiatives, indicating efforts to combat corruption and hold oil corporations accountable. By taking these necessary precautions, Guyana's oil wealth presents an opportunity for transformative growth.